Are we living in a simulation? The idea of living in a simulation may sound like something straight out of science fiction, yet it's a genuine topic of debate among scientists, philosophers, and intellectuals. The central premise is straightforward. What if everything we perceive, what we see, feel, and experience, isn't the ultimate reality, but instead a part of an advanced virtual simulation? Though the notion feels bizarre, it becomes intriguing when examined more closely. Picture a distant future where technology has progressed far beyond what we can currently envision. In such a world, humans might be able to build simulations with such precision and depth that those within them would be completely unaware of their artificial existence. These simulations could serve many purposes: entertainment, academic research, or even as a method to study historical periods. If such a future is plausible, then a profound question arises. How can we be certain that we're not inside one of these simulations right now? This line of reasoning, often referred to as the simulation hypothesis, begins with a basic observation about technological advancement. Think about the evolution of video games. A few decades ago, games featured simple graphics and very limited interactivity. Today, however, video games present incredibly lifelike visuals, realistic characters, and immersive virtual experiences. Virtual reality is not only real, it's growing and improving rapidly. If this trajectory continues, it's not unreasonable to believe that future technologies could create simulations that are virtually indistinguishable from actual reality. Philosopher Nick Bostrom explored this concept by posing a provocative question. If future civilizations possess the ability to create ultra-realistic simulations, what are the chances that we are part of the original, real reality and not one of the countless simulations? If such simulations become widespread, then from a statistical perspective, it might actually be more probable that we're part of a simulation, given that there could be many simulations, but only one original reality. This thought experiment pushes us to entertain the possibility that our entire experience might be embedded within a simulated construct. One way to approach this is by examining the limits of human perception. Our senses help us interpret the world, but they only allow us to perceive a narrow portion of what's actually there. For instance, humans cannot see ultraviolet light, even though it exists, and our hearing is confined to certain sound frequencies. While technology helps us push these boundaries, it still depends on interpreting inputs from our environment. But what if those inputs, light, sound, and other sensory data, are actually programmed elements within a simulation? If that were the case, we wouldn't necessarily realize it, since everything we experience would conform to the internal rules of that simulation. There are also scientific curiosities that prompt some to question whether we live in a simulation. In physics, researchers have discovered that the universe operates according to specific rules and constants. Take the speed of light, for example. It's fixed, or how subatomic particles follow predictable behaviors. These consistent laws bear a striking resemblance to the kind of rules you might expect in a programmed environment. If the universe were simulated, these laws could be interpreted as the code that underpins the entire system. It's also worth considering that our universe seems to have limits. Space and time don't stretch on forever. They have measurable boundaries. This has led some to compare the universe to a video game, finite in scope, but feeling endless from the perspective of its inhabitants. Quantum mechanics, another branch of physics, adds further intrigue. At subatomic scales, particles behave in erratic and surprising ways. They can exist in multiple states at once and only seem to settle on a definite state when observed. This peculiar trait has led some to speculate whether observation itself might generate reality, similar to how a video game renders the environment only in the direction the player is looking. Although these concepts remain speculative, they challenge us to reconsider the true nature of reality and whether it might be artificially generated. Skeptics argue that the simulation hypothesis is more imaginative fiction than scientific theory. They highlight the absence of direct evidence suggesting we live in a simulation. Everything we observe could be explained without needing to rely on the idea of simulations. The rules of physics might resemble computer code, but they could just as easily be fundamental characteristics of a natural universe. Just because something is theoretically possible doesn't mean it's actually happening. As it stands, the simulation hypothesis remains an idea, a compelling one, but not a confirmed reality. Even if we are inside a simulation, it may be nearly impossible to ever prove it. A simulation advanced enough to perfectly mimic reality would likely be advanced enough to conceal all evidence of its artificial nature. Suppose we were to detect a flaw or a glitch in the structure of the universe. Could that indicate it's programmed? Or would it simply reflect an unexplained natural phenomenon? After all, the tools we would use to test our reality would themselves be part of the simulation, making it difficult, perhaps impossible, to break free and observe the true world. So what would it mean if we somehow discovered we were living in a simulation? Would it affect how we go about our daily lives? For most people, probably not. We would still go to work, eat our meals, sleep at night, and maintain relationships. A simulated existence can feel just as real and meaningful if we experience it in full. In fact, some philosophers argue that whether or not we're simulated isn't the most important issue. What matters more is how we live within the reality we perceive. There's also a practical side to consider. If we are in a simulation, then it's possible that someone or something is observing us, maybe for entertainment or perhaps for scientific study. This idea can be unsettling, as it raises ethical questions about the creators of the simulation. Are they accountable for the suffering we endure? Do they ever intervene? Or do they merely watch everything unfold? And if they are observing us, should we act differently knowing we might be monitored? Despite all the uncertainty, the simulation hypothesis invites us to think deeply about reality and our role in it. Even if we never uncover the truth, asking the question can help us reflect on what it means to be human. It reminds us that the world, whatever its nature, is full of mystery and complexity. Whether our existence is authentic or simulated, the feelings we experience, our emotions, our connections, our sense of purpose, are all very real to us. They define who we are and shape the meaning we find in life. Ultimately, we may never know if we are living in a simulation, but the process of questioning, exploring, and seeking answers is valuable in itself. It pushes us to examine our assumptions, to appreciate the unknown, and to marvel at the wonder of simply being alive, no matter what form that reality takes. The meaning of life. The question of what the meaning of life is has preoccupied human minds for centuries. Philosophers, scientists, and religious leaders have all grappled with this deep question, offering varied answers based on their unique beliefs and viewpoints. Yet despite the wealth of perspectives shared, the question remains open-ended and deeply individual. Its importance lies in its capacity to inspire reflection, encouraging people to consider their values, sense of purpose, and connection to the world around them. At its heart, the meaning of life might not be a universal constant. Some individuals believe that no single, fixed answer exists, that instead, Life's meaning is something each person must define on their own. For example, a parent might find purpose in raising children, instilling values in them, and guiding them into responsible adulthood. In contrast, an artist might discover meaning through the act of creation or by moving others with their work. A scientist may dedicate their life to unraveling complex questions or gaining insight into the universe's secrets. These instances demonstrate that meaning frequently stems from what individuals care about and how they decide to live. Cultures and traditions across the world have presented diverse interpretations. Many religious teachings suggest that life's purpose comes from serving a divine power, fulfilling sacred missions, or seeking spiritual growth. Christianity, for instance, emphasizes following God's will, nurturing love and compassion, and striving for eternal life. In Buddhism, the goal centers on reducing suffering, practicing mindfulness, and achieving enlightenment. While these paths are framed differently, they both emphasize values and actions that give life significance. In contrast, some philosophies argue that meaning isn't something granted externally, but is constructed by each individual. Existentialism, for example, stresses personal freedom and responsibility. It suggests that people aren't born with a predefined purpose, but must shape their lives through choices and behavior. An existentialist might claim that purpose is found in living authentically, making intentional decisions, and accepting the consequences. In today's world, many also look to science in their search for meaning. Although science doesn't prescribe meaning as religion or philosophy might, it sheds light on how life forms and evolves. Understanding that humans are intricately connected to a broader web of life, shaped over billions of years by evolution, can instill a sense of belonging to nature. For some, realizing they share the same elements as stars or recognizing how their actions affect future generations brings feelings of wonder and duty. Life's challenges and hardships can also prompt the search for meaning. People often ponder this question during periods of struggle or doubt. For example, someone who has suffered a significant loss may wonder about the purpose of their pain or what truly holds value. These difficult experiences, while painful, can also lead to personal growth and new clarity. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, wrote extensively about discovering meaning even amid immense suffering. He observed that individuals who managed to find purpose, even in small moments, were more likely to persevere. Frankl identified three primary sources of meaning: one's work or achievements, loving relationships, and the mindset adopted in response to unavoidable suffering. Relationships, in particular, play a central role in how many people experience meaning. Love, friendship, and connection to others are often what give life its deepest richness. Whether it's helping a friend, sharing joyful moments with family, or participating in community life, relationships remind us of our shared humanity. They offer chances for empathy, generosity, and mutual development. A simple kind gesture, like aiding a stranger, can feel profoundly meaningful and remind us of the power of human connection. Some people also derive meaning through passion or creativity. They feel most alive when engaging in activities that bring joy or promote personal growth. A musician might find significance in composing songs that touch others emotionally. A writer might discover purpose in telling stories that provoke thought. Even hobbies or seemingly small interests can add value to someone's life. For instance, a gardener may find satisfaction in tending to plants and witnessing nature's cycles. Others seek meaning by contributing to causes larger than themselves. This might include working toward social progress, protecting the planet, or advocating for fairness and justice. Making a positive difference, no matter how small, can provide people with motivation and fulfillment. Individuals who devote themselves to helping others, like teachers, doctors, or volunteers, often report that their efforts make life feel meaningful because they enhance others' well-being. For some, the search for meaning leads to philosophical inquiry. These individuals may question whether life's meaning lies in happiness, fulfillment, or simply the fact of existing. This view treats life as an ongoing exploration in which even the act of asking questions has meaning. The curiosity and drive to understand what it means to be alive can create a sense of purpose, even when clear answers are elusive. Though the question, what is the meaning of life, can appear overwhelming or abstract, it often becomes clearer when viewed through the lens of daily life. Many people come to realize that meaning isn't necessarily discovered in a grand, singular revelation, but instead in a collection of small moments over time. Simple acts, like assisting a neighbor, learning something new, or pausing to enjoy a sunset, can reaffirm life's inherent worth. It's also important to recognize that life's meaning may change over time. What seems meaningful in one phase of life might evolve as people grow and circumstances shift. A young adult might focus on building a career or exploring the world, while someone older might prioritize nurturing family or contemplating their legacy. This adaptability shows that meaning isn't rigid, it matures alongside us. Ultimately, the quest to understand life's meaning isn't about arriving at a final, universal truth. It's about exploring what speaks to us individually. It involves posing questions, trying new paths, and remaining open to growth. Whether one finds purpose in relationships, work, faith, creativity, or inner exploration, it often requires a deep engagement with life and a willingness to accept its complexity. In this sense, the question, what is the meaning of life, may not be about discovering a singular answer, but about embracing the journey of uncovering what makes life valuable. Reality is a concept that might seem simple at first glance. The importance of love and friendship. Love and friendship are often seen as essential elements of a meaningful life, but are they truly necessary? To answer this, we must first explore what love and friendship provide, how they influence our lives, and whether it's possible to find meaning without them. Love comes in many forms. There's romantic love, the deep emotional bond one feels for a partner. There's the love between a parent and child, a connection that often shapes us from the moment we're born. There's also the love we feel toward friends, pets, ideas, and causes. Friendship is slightly different. It's a mutual connection grounded in trust, understanding, and shared experiences. Together, love and friendship are powerful forces that bring richness, depth, and purpose to life. Imagine life without any meaningful relationships, someone with no close companions, no friends to speak with, and no family to visit. They might still have a successful career, fulfilling hobbies, or material wealth, but something essential would be missing. Humans are inherently social beings. Our evolution depended on one another for survival. That deep-rooted need for connection didn't vanish when society moved past hunting and gathering. Even today, the relationships we build offer us emotional stability, support, and meaning. Love instills life with a sense of purpose. Consider a parent looking after a child. They wake up early, prepare meals, and give up personal time, all driven by love. Though these acts can be tiring, they feel meaningful. The parent-child bond brings fulfillment that goes beyond individual needs. Love in a romantic relationship can also help people feel connected to something beyond themselves. It's not just about shared goals, it's about emotional closeness, security, and the joy that comes from being truly understood. Friendship, while different from romantic love, offers its own kind of value. While love may include intense feelings, friendship grows through mutual respect and shared life experiences. Friends are the ones we laugh with, share secrets with, and lean on in difficult moments. They give us a sense of belonging and help us face life's challenges. Picture someone facing a rough patch at work. Having a friend who listens and gives advice can change everything. That kind of support reminds us we are not alone. Some believe that love and friendship aren't essential to live meaningfully. They highlight people who find purpose in solitary endeavors, artists, scientists, or thinkers who work alone for long periods. Their passion drives them, and their achievements give them fulfillment. A writer who spends a lifetime creating profound stories may find satisfaction even without deep personal relationships. In such cases, meaning can stem from personal accomplishments or devotion to a cause. Still, even here, love and friendship often play a role. A writer might be inspired by past relationships. A scientist might depend on the collaboration and encouragement of colleagues. Even those who appear to live solitary lives usually have connections that shape and influence their work. True isolation in life is rare, and usually not by choice. People who are completely disconnected from others often struggle with loneliness, which affects both mental and physical health. This kind of loneliness reveals just how important love and friendship are. Without these connections, people may feel empty or detached from the world. Research shows that loneliness can heighten stress, weaken the immune system, and lead to depression. In contrast, strong relationships boost well-being. People with close friends or loving families tend to be happier and healthier. They feel supported and valued, which adds purpose to their lives. Consider an elderly person who has lived a long, fulfilling life. When they look back, it's often the time spent with loved ones that stands out more than career milestones or material wealth. This reflects a universal truth. Our most cherished memories usually involve the people we love. A vacation is more special when shared with friends. Achievements feel more meaningful when celebrated with family. These moments remind us that love and friendship are not just important, they're deeply embedded in the experience of living meaningfully. Of course, not all relationships are positive. Some people face pain and disappointment in love and friendship. A toxic friendship can be emotionally exhausting rather than supportive. A failed romantic relationship can leave emotional wounds. Yet even in these difficult experiences, people often grow. They may become more emotionally strong or gain better insight into their needs for future relationships. The struggles that come with love and friendship are part of what makes them meaningful. Another question is whether love and friendship can be found beyond human connections. Many people form deep emotional bonds with pets. The loyalty of a dog or the quiet companionship of a cat can bring great comfort and joy. Others discover meaning in their relationship with nature, art, or spirituality. These connections, although different from human relationships, can offer similar emotional rewards, feelings of love and companionship. Yet, there's something distinct about human connection. Conversations, laughter, and shared understanding build bonds that are hard to duplicate elsewhere. When people connect, they feel seen and valued. This recognition strengthens their sense of belonging and helps give life a deeper purpose. It's also important to recognize that love and friendship don't look the same for everyone. Some people thrive in large social groups, while others prefer close-knit circles. Some find fulfillment in romantic partnerships, while others focus on friendships or family bonds. The form that connection takes is less important than the meaning it brings. At its foundation, the question of whether love and friendship are essential to a meaningful life depends on our values. If we define meaning as connection, then love and friendship are clearly vital. They allow us to share life, offer support, and feel part of something larger. If we define meaning as personal achievement, then love and friendship may not seem central, but even then, they often provide the support and perspective needed to pursue one's goals. In the end, love and friendship may not be the only ways to live a meaningful life, but they are certainly among the most dependable. They tie us to others, enrich our experiences, and help us understand what it means to be human. Whether it's through a kind word, shared laughter, or a comforting hug, these bonds shape our lives in lasting and powerful ways. An ideal society is a concept that has been debated for centuries. The reality of time. The question of whether time is real or merely a human-made concept invites profound contemplation. At first glance, time appears self-evident. We plan our days according to clocks, celebrate birthdays annually, and track progress in seconds, minutes, and hours. The idea of time helps us understand both our lives and the surrounding world. However, when we take a closer look, its nature becomes far less certain. Is time something that exists independently of us? Or is it simply a framework we've created to make sense of the universe? One way to approach this question is to consider how we experience time. For most people, time feels linear, a sequence of moments moving from the past, through the present, and into the future. This perception influences how we think and live. We recall what has already happened. We exist in the present moment, and we plan for what lies ahead. This seems natural, even undeniable. But is this progression of time truly real, or is it simply a mental model we use to make sense of change? Physics provides a very different point of view. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time is not a constant that exists separately from everything else. Instead, it is intertwined with space to form what scientists call spacetime. In this model, time can stretch or compress depending on factors like speed and gravity. For example, astronauts traveling at extremely high speeds or near massive objects would actually experience time more slowly compared to someone on Earth. Experiments using atomic clocks on planes and satellites have confirmed this. Time really does pass differently in different situations. This raises serious questions about the idea of time being fixed or absolute. Another fascinating concept from physics is the block universe theory. In this model, the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, similar to how an entire book exists at once, even if we read it one page at a time. In this view, the universe is static, and what we perceive as the flow of time may actually be an illusion created by our consciousness. Cultural and historical differences also reveal how time is not as universal as it seems. Various civilizations have understood and measured time in different ways. Ancient cultures such as the Mayans or Egyptians used calendars based on solar and lunar cycles. They did not divide time into precise units like hours and minutes as we do today. In fact, the modern clock, with its rigid breakdown of seconds, is a fairly recent invention. It arose during the Industrial Revolution to coordinate factory work between people and machines. This history suggests that how we measure and perceive time is largely shaped by human needs and priorities. Even on an individual level, Our experience of time can vary dramatically. Time can seem to drag when we are bored and fly when we are busy or enjoying ourselves. This shows that time is not just an external constant. It is also deeply linked to our internal states. An hour can feel endlessly long or pass in a blink depending on our circumstances. This subjective nature of time makes it harder to define as something fully real. Philosophers have wrestled with the nature of time for centuries. Some claim that time is an objective part of reality that exists independently of human awareness. Others argue that time is purely a mental construct, an invention of the mind to help us understand change and sequence. St. Augustine, a 5th century philosopher, once said he understood what time was until someone asked him to explain it. This perfectly illustrates the challenge of defining something so fundamental. Now imagine a universe without humans or any conscious beings. Would time still exist? Events would still occur. Stars would be born and die. Planets would orbit, and rivers would flow. But without a consciousness to observe these changes and assign meaning to them, can we still say that time exists? This thought experiment points to the possibility that time might not be an inherent part of the universe, but rather a conceptual lens we use to describe it. Language also plays a significant role in shaping how we think about time. In many languages, we speak of time as though it were a physical object or resource. We save time, spend time, run out of time. These metaphors reinforce the idea that time is real and tangible, but they are simply linguistic habits, not proof of time's physical existence. Another layer to this discussion involves memory and anticipation. Much of our experience of time is based on remembering the past and imagining the future. Without memory, the past would vanish from our minds. Without imagination, the future would hold no meaning. From this perspective, time could be seen as a product of how the brain operates, not something external, but something generated within us. Some argue that time is merely a way to measure change. When something moves, evolves, or transforms, we recognize and measure that shift, and we call it time. Consider the Earth's rotation, which causes day and night. We use this pattern to track time, but what we're actually observing is motion and order, not time itself. If there were no change, no movement, no growth, no decay, would the concept of time still have any meaning? This leads to the suggestion that time may not exist independently, but is instead a system we use to describe patterns of change. At the same time, we rely on the concept of time for nearly everything in our daily lives. It organizes how we live, plan, and interact. Without it, society as we know it would fall apart. Trains run on schedules. Businesses operate on fixed hours. People celebrate milestones like birthdays and anniversaries. Even if time is an artificial construct, it is one that we depend on to create structure, purpose, and connection. So does it really matter whether time is real or just a construct? In practical terms, perhaps not. Whether time flows like a river or is simply a mental interpretation of change, it gives us a way to live with order and meaning. The very fact that we can ask these questions, explore different viewpoints, and challenge our assumptions highlights the depth of human curiosity and imagination. In the end, the question of whether time is truly real may not have a clear or final answer, but it does encourage us to reflect more deeply on our reality and to embrace the mysteries that shape our existence. Whether time is an unchanging truth or a brilliant invention of the human mind, It remains one of the most captivating and puzzling aspects of being alive.